question 1 was on sustainable development concept. I will not read the question, but in summary, you are looking at the implications of that, formulation of sustainable development concept. So, the things that I was looking for, it's not that I'm looking, word to word or whatsoever, but there are certain, important information that was needed to be in your answer in order to get full marks. So here, like when we look at that concept, we are looking at the impact of engineering activities on society, on the economy, and on the environment. Some people can go into detail in terms of what specific impacts can be. That would earn you 2 points if you explain something around that. And also looking at the limits on the use of renewable and non-renewable resources. Some of you were just mentioning non-renewable resources, but remember, even renewable resources, if they are not utilized sustainably, it can be also a problem. So if you had that, you could earn another 2 points. And if you mentioned anything about life cycle or research, on the products or processes that you are going to embark on, you could get, another 2 marks. So the full marks is 6 marks. But I was also accommodating other creative answers, which were, I found them to be relevant. You could also indicate about developing flexible designs so that when you see problems, you can easily change. So that's the first part of the question, question 1A. Okay. Yes. Why? I'm not putting this on the web. No. Those that are here are privileged to see what answers it should be. Okay. Moving on to question 1B. I've even indicated the page number and the notes where you can find the answers. So you can easily, go back and see it. So here we are looking at sustainable development concept, from the definitions that have been given by different stakeholders or groups. We had, our common future, which is the popular report, and there the definition of sustainable development is given. I was not looking for the definition. I was looking for the concept, sustainable concept, and we did discuss in class that it's about equity, now and also in the future. So intra and intergenerational equity. That was the concept. If you gave me the definition, you got a mark. But if you gave me both the definition and the concept, you got 2 marks. And if you just gave me the concept, because that was the question, you got full 2 marks. Okay? And the second one was about the business sector. Some of you you rushed to criticize the business sector that they are about profits. But the question was asking you, for those that are concerned about sustainable development, how do they define it and what concept do we get there? We did, mention about the triple bottom line or the 3 pillars of sustainable development. Yes?
Can you read the exact question that you asked in that paper on this stuff? Because I don't remember that. I remember it's like a business group, and I don't remember the point about the business being environmentally concerned.
What?
I don't remember anywhere like in the notes where it's like, or even in the paper where you say that you have to ask about businesses that are environmentally conscious. The question was formulated in a sense almost like that the business is that one business is not what's a new approach. Our businesses, like, obviously, if the answer how do you still work?
Sustainable development is defined differently by different sectors, give one unique sustainability. So how can you be telling me about how unsustainable businesses are?
That's right.
And then the Strategy for Sustainable Living report, that one actually is the report that defines carrying capacity or limits of growth. So luckily, the concept was there in the definition. So most of you got it because you gave me the definition and I gave you full 2 marks. Okay. Now, question 2A, it was about sustainable development implementation. You were supposed to mention 2 strategies being used to implement sustainable development. In your notes, page A5, consumption and production or sustainable technology. Those were the two things that I was looking for. And some of you went into detail, defining, giving details. I did give you a mark if whatever you are giving me makes sense. And then in terms of the 7 elements presented by the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, to improve eco-efficiency, they were outlined and they were on page A7. So this is exactly what you have in your notes. It's not acceptable for you guys to be taking pictures. I don't think I will allow that. So, yeah. I think for everything you need to ask for permission if you can take pictures. But just doing it for the sake of it, when I'm saying I'm not putting it on the web, then it's not really. Yeah. If you have any question, you're welcome to come and discuss with me. If you are not agreeing with the answers, we can discuss. Okay. And then question 2C, we're talking about the principle used to deal with technological risks in the implementation of sustainable development through technological advancement. Of course, some of you could not remember exactly, but it was the precautionary measure principle. So that's the answer I was looking at. And some of you gave me something that sounded like, the same. I was generous enough to give you, a mark. And of course, in terms of how it will affect, development, sometimes it can slow down development if you are looking at absolute proof of your technology that it's safe to use or to be implemented. So anything around that was acceptable. Oops, sorry. And question 3, that was about economic growth, environmental constraints, and social concerns. And here it was a concept of environmental space. And the answer is exactly as it is in the notes. Here we are looking at the scope of human activities, which are defined by the environmental constraints in order to estimate per capita sustainable level of consumption. It's different from eco-footprint, because eco-footprint we are looking at how, how people are over-consuming resources and what they will need in order to satisfy their living style. Environmental space is, the environment is putting a constraint to say you can't go beyond, this level of consumption. So the two concepts, although they talk of the same thing, but they are different in their definition. So some of you that mentioned ecological footprint, yes, I was lenient enough to give you something in that regard. And then the three steps of calculating carrying capacity are exactly in the notes. You can find those on page A15. It's exactly, I didn't add anything, I didn't subtract anything. And then question four, it was a giveaway, question. Define green engineering. And yes, I got, a variety of definitions. But what I was looking for is the definition that I gave you, and it's in the notes. And especially when you are talking about awareness of potential benefits and problems in terms of the environment, the economy, and the society. And what is very important is to mention about throughout the lifetime of a design or a process. So that was very important for you to get kind of full marks. And of course, you can add whether it can be technical or non-technical. Okay. And when it comes to 3 ways in which industrial ecosystems can become closed loops, type 3 ecosystems, most of you were just giving me the definition of closed loop, but not giving me the 3 ways that you can achieve a closed loop. So recycling, reusing of waste within the process or system. You can also use the waste as input for another process or another industry. Or you can implement some technology that will break down or destroy the waste within the system. And some of you were mentioning about the natural process whatsoever. I was lenient enough to give you a little something there as well. Okay. And then question 5, It was life cycle thinking and assessment. All I needed was just that simple diagram with all those components and showing that it's an iterative, process. Each stage has to inform the other stage because sometimes you find new information, you need to improve your stage. So if you give me that diagram with all the double arrows and you say this one, the stages, they interact each other because you need information from one stage to the other until you fine-tune your process. Then you get 4 marks. As simple as that. Yes. It's the diagram and you indicate that it's any explanation to indicate that it's an iterative process. So the diagram with all the components, because there were some ways that were put in this diagram. The diagram looked the same, but the contents of the diagram was a lot. I don't even know where some of them were coming from. The common mistake was that people were giving me the life cycle of a product, not the process. Yeah. So please read the question and make sure you understand the question before you answer it. Because sometimes you get excited just because you know the thing. And then you start answering, but not answering the question at hand. So take time to understand the question. Okay, any other question? Yes?
The principles weren't asked. They weren't asked, the principles.
The principles, that question was not done. They said it was too simple. So don't shoot me. It was there, but it was moved. But expect it to come in some form. Yes?
What are we going to cover for next week's test?
Okay. Can we discuss that on not Friday?
We are writing Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, you are writing on Saturday because then the notes I've already posted the notes. But the time, because now I can tell you something which might not be covered because of the time. So probably Wednesday is Wednesday next week. Yeah, because we have the guest lecture, and when she's finished, then I can take you over in terms of what you should expect in the exam. I think that I'll be safe doing it that way. Okay. Any other question? And please, I'm going to post the results on web studies when we have finalized everything. The queries that I'm receiving, and I understand some of them can't find their scripts, so we have to sort out that one. Then I'm going to post the marks on web studies. Please check, make sure that your mark is being collected and recorded, and if there's a problem, please bring it to my attention as soon as possible. So in a day or two,